Good morning, everybody. Hey, folks, hope you're well, wherever you are. Morning, Ashley, Brendan. We're at it again on a terrific Tuesday. Thanks for joining me, folks. Good to see you here as things warm up, just making sure everything's sorted at my end. A few little weirdnesses going on, as always, playing with live streams and bits of technology. You never know if they're going to work perfectly, but if you don't already know, that's my name just there. If you knew, unlike the regulars, like Ashley, Brendan, Bradley, Jakendra, hey, good morning. If you knew, say hello. Give us a shout out in the chat. Let me know where you're coming in from, where you're dialing in from. Where are you in this wonderful world? What are you doing today on a terrific Tuesday, 6th of December? Well into December, well on the run to Christmas as we're rolling along. Thanks for joining today. Jakendra's all the way from Melbourne. Brad's up in Mackay. That's the wonderful thing about this technology, isn't it? We can be kind of anywhere, tuning in, connecting in one way, shape or form to sort of get the daily info, get the daily drill. For those who don't know, most of you do, but if you don't, if you're new and you're just dropping by, you might be one of our newbies in our mentoring and coaching program. We've been doing this Wealth Coffee Chat for 3 years now, which is kind of cool. Before that, back in the olden days, for the last 20 plus years, I've been teaching property investors around Australia and New Zealand, along with my compadre and business partner, Sam Saggers. And we've been helping property investors all over Australia get deals done. There you go. Luke's keeping the sanitation sorted down in Geelong. Brendan, yeah. Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Well, today, team. Folks, I was going to do part 2 of yesterday's conversation about equity arbitrage, good debt, bad debt. Certainly, I'll be doing a little bit of a wrap-up later next week about what is on the cards for the future, 2023, holding some pretty interesting things. We have a panel of experts at our mentoring program on Monday night next week, so make sure you're there. Do not miss it, folks. Make sure you save the date. And we're going to hear from 5 experts about what the future holds from their point of view. Finance, property management, accounting, property deals, the economy, marketplace. So make sure you come along to that one. But today, I thought we would do part 2 of our conversation from yesterday. Which was the idea of, this is it here, rich debt, poor debt. And we talked about that yesterday. So if you want to check that out, make sure you go grab that, ladies and gents. But today, we're going to talk about the concept of equity arbitrage. Yeah, interesting. Well, it would be interesting. I would, I'm kind of a 60%, Tim and Luke, that it'd be a zero. It'd be a zero. However, there's 2 to 3.25s still to come for us to get to that number that the market is kind of forward booked and forward purchased, but we shall see. Let's hang out and see. 0 to 0.25. I reckon it's 60% chance of a zero today. We shall see. Anyway, hopefully Santa is feeling generous when it comes to the cost of our money. But let's talk about the cost of our money, and let's talk about arbitrage, the conversation, the concept of equity arbitrage. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about over time, and you guys have seen this before, the idea of acquisition, consolidation, lifestyle phases as a property investor. You start out, this is kind of zero. and you start out with, buying your PPR, your first home, principal place of residence, and then that propagates, if you use it well, into some investment properties. Let's say you get a bit of a mojo on and you buy some investment properties, which is fabulous in your acquisition stage. So your wealth and value sort of does this over time, which is awesome, right? That's great. Now, the upshot of that is your wealth continues to grow, whether you're out and about working or not, which is awesome. One of the inefficiencies, and we've all talked about this before, is that your debt, obviously, often, is more than your value. You're kind of in a sort of a negative space often there, depending on how you've started out. But, over here, you will absolutely end up in an extremely positive space and lots of equity. Equity. Now, this can be significant amounts of equity for lots of property investors. Every property investor I know who's stuck with this 15 or 20 years has significant amounts, many multiples of millions and millions of dollars, millions of equity down here at this point in time that often is unutilized. Let's call it lazy money, right? Let's call it lazy money. So what do we do here? The concept, the idea, team, that the idea of arbitrage, anyway, it's a fancy word to explain something pretty simple. Tell me in the chat, what does arbitrage mean to us? Equity arbitrage as property investors. Let's say if we had a house, yeah, that's true, Brendan. Let's say we had a house or a property and we wanted to release some equity and we wanted to use that as security to borrow some money. Give me just a standard medium to long-term interest rate that you could borrow money from when it comes to your house. All right. So tell me the interest rate in the chat right now. So we're going to talk about the concept of arbitrage, right? It says here the simultaneous purchase and sale of the same asset in different markets in order to make a profit. Blah blah blah. Right. So yeah, dead right, Tim. Now the idea here is, what are the different markets here? What are the two assets what is the asset we're using? And then we're making a margin across the asset. Anyway, that's a terrible way to ask the question. However, you can borrow money. Yeah, let's call it 5% over here. You can borrow from an asset that you have. Let's say it's a house, an investment property, whatever. And then you can arbitrage that. You can put it somewhere where you can make a better return. Where you can make a better return on what that might look like. Yeah. Looks like the old internet's playing up on me again. But anyway, we shall see. So 5% to 10% arbitrage, skipping across this barrier. The idea that we can borrow low and invest high. That, for us as a property investor, makes sense, because when we get lots and lots of equity in here, when our consolidation lifestyle phase, when you're 15 to 20 years in, and maybe even earlier in your property investing, the conversation is, how can I tap into that equity and make a margin, and how can I use it smartly? Okay, how can I use it smartly? What can I do with it? It's a good question. Good question. And the answer is, one of the answers is you can use equity arbitrage and an investing process to do what's called debt recycling. All right? Debt recycling. So let's talk about debt recycling here. Let's talk about debt recycling. Boom, Luke. Luke does his equity arbitrage using his equity smartly, using his skill to do subdivisions. Perfect. Absolutely spot on, Luke. That's an active way of doing it for sure, right? So let's just have a look at this. Let's talk through the concept of, let's say this is your principal place of residence, and let's say it's worth, let's call it $800,000, 800K. Let's say you have got 400K of debt left, all right? Now, this is your principal place of residence. This 400K, would you call that good debt or bad debt? Folks, put that in the chat. Now, this is kind of sometimes a little bit controversial. Is that good debt or bad debt? Your principal place of residence debt, put it in the chat. Economically, we're talking about it. It's not emotional, all right? At this point in time, yep, it's bad debt. Bad debt, why? Because it is not creating an income. It's not tax deductible. It is going up in value. This is where kind of people sort of, but it's good debt because my property's going up in value. Well, no, especially if you're not using, the equity in your property, etc. But anyway, let's look at how we can cycle debt and transfer, the magic trick of transferring or creating more good debt and less bad debt, okay? How do we do that, okay? And let's just say this is an investment over here. Here's how it works, team. What you do is you tap into, let's say, an amount of money in your principal place of residence, okay? Let's just say you can tap into that equity there. Now, you use that equity for an investment. Now, that equity goes over. Dollars gets invested in something. Yep. If it's not deductible, it's bad. Dead right, Luke, right? So you take 100K of your equity, and when you borrow that 100K against the security of your own home or any investment, let's face it, that's the security, and you put it into an investment, a deemed investment. Tell me, what is that? Is that good debt or bad debt, folks? Is that good debt or bad debt? Tell me in the chat right now. We've borrowed some money, but we've put it into an investment in the system. Tell me how that works. Chuck that in the chat for me as we go. Yep, it's good. So let's say, by and large, we get a return. We get a return on this. And let's say we make 20%, okay? Let's say we borrowed and the cost was 5. We made 20%. That means we made 20K. Let's go back this way. We make 20K minus our cost. This is just using round figures. It could, anywhere from 10 to 30% is what you want to aim for in this debt recycling equity arbitrage. So let's say we make 20K, 20% on our money. We get a return. What do we do with it, folks? With the debt recycling, tell me what we do. This is a little process here that we need to understand, especially when it comes to lending. How do we debt recycle here? What do we do? What is that 20K? What do we do with that 20K? Tell me. We go ahead. All right. Anyone got it? What do we do with that 20K? You pay down the home loan. Boom, Tim. Now, this is what happens. All right. So we pay down the home loan, and now the home loan, team, is 380. Okay, 380. Home loan's now 380. Now, what do we do after we pay the home loan down to 380? Tell me what the next bit is, team. Tell me what the next bit is. You then redraw the 20K out. You pay that down and you redraw the 20K out. Is everyone following along? Right. Beautiful. Okay. So now we've got rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Exactly. Now we got 120K in there, okay? And so the story goes in, then goes out. Now that goes down, the 380 goes down, and the 120 goes up. So how it works is we do this exchange process and we continue. Luke said it well, redraw for a deposit. Yeah, that's fine. You can spin it out once you've created a deposit for another property if you want, and that can accelerate things as well. But this is in its simplest form. You can certainly 100% do that using real estate. You can do it using shares. You can do it using, I don't know, business. Like there's lots of ways, whatever this investment is, you know, that's for us as investors to go discover. But this is the process. This is the way it works, team. You increase the good debt, and you decrease the bad debt. Decrease the bad. Boom, put that down, all right? And ever so slowly, but it can be quite fast, you can make your good debt or your bad debt into good debt and make the dollars work for you. Big tick in the box, team. That's a really simple, powerful way of making debt recycling work, all right? The concept of when we have lots of equity here, we go arbitrage, borrow at a low amount, get a better return. And we can accelerate that in multiple ways, right? You can do lots of stuff there. You can do joint ventures. You can do, you know, a share portfolio. You can do whatever over here. I love the idea that, you know, you can do something more like Luke does in the world of subdivision. For me right now, what I do is I take my equity from my properties and I do small developments. That's what I do, right? So check the equity arbitrage out on that. It accelerates, okay, as we go along. So for you, what will it be? What will that acceleration strategy be? Because, team, when we get into this is where the exciting stuff happens. Acquisitions, that is your foundation. Foundation. That's your foundation of wealth, okay? This is where you got to have a little bit of patience, like the Guns N' Roses song says. But this is where your wealth really kicks on, okay, as we go over here when we get that going on as investors. Hopefully that makes sense. Tell me in the chat, team, if that made sense. Oh, no, wrong little camera section there. We'll go to that one. Hopefully that gave us all a little bit of a... Gary asked the question, would it be worth selling the PPR if in that example you had 400K? So rent, then utilize the profit for 400K, blah, blah, blah. Good question, Gary. And the answer is depends on what you are looking to achieve. Okay, depends on what you're looking to achieve. Many times, the way to unlock some of your hidden or restricted wealth is to liquidate an asset so you can unlock that cash and then redeploy. One of my rules for most investors is to buy well and not sell, because buying and selling, Gary, is really inefficient because the government, you know, they're grotty. They put their hands out for money left, right, and center. You know, stamp duty and, you know, land taxes and bloody capital gains taxes and you name it. But the answer is it depends, Gary, and it really depends on where you are in your journey and what you're trying to achieve. Sometimes it absolutely can be super beneficial to unlock the cash and redeploy it into multiple assets. You'll get ahead and create more wealth faster. But as you know, as I say to most people, make sure you check in with your coach and team to work that out as you flesh out a really good strategy that's going to be robust and safe and move at the right pace for you. If you don't have a team, Gary, if you don't have a coach, get one, man. Get one. We can connect you with the right one. Give us a shout out if you need. All right, that's it, folks. I'm done. I'm dusted. Tuesday, the 6th of December, Wealth Coffee Chat, over and out. You guys be awesome. Be well. Join me tomorrow for one more. I'm not going to do Wealth Coffee Chat on Thursday and Friday. I've got stuff on down in Sydney, which is my business training program that I do every quarter. Yeah, that's it. I'll be back Monday. Brendan, say 5% on the way in. What percentage on the way out? Listen, mate, if you can make 10 to 15%, you should be happy. 15 to 20% is what I aim for, Brendan. That's what I aim for. You want to make, you want to have enough, margin in there to make it worth the effort and the risk, Brendan. But, if you aim for 15 to 20%, then your sort of brain starts to kick into what type of deals can I do like that? Like what sort of deal making can I do? If you're going to do some things like, subdivisions or small developments of your own, you need really quite safely, you need about 300K of accessible liquid equity or cash to cycle in and out of deals. And then if you're going to do small developments, you need $1 million. Like don't try and do a development and hawk the, have every single thing, leveraged to the hilt. Anyway, I might do a little Wealth Coffee Chat on that one time. Good question. All right, folks, that's it. I'm done. Wealth Coffee Chat over and out. You guys be awesome. Be well. Join me tomorrow for one more before the end of the week. All right, folks. Adios. Bye-bye.